Question number 1 comes from Kim. Kim says, "Hi Sean and Laura.
Hey Kim.
I had a question with regard to prong e-collar on small breed dogs. Prong is working great with my 3 rotties and they're doing great, but Gizmo, my almost 10-year-old Shih Tzu, who has been a brat all of his life and allowed to get away with anything, has a few issues to work through. The biggest of which being coming when called, only when he decides to, he wants to, and food resource guarding."
Gizmo.
So we have him also on a prong, but he seems to be very sensitive to it. He just fastening around his neck, he jumps back and cries out in pain. It's not tight and there's no sores or redness on his neck. I just think he doesn't want it. He's doing a good job of staying on place and then down, and when he breaks place and down, we correct him and bring him back. But I just wonder if you do any of this dance differently with a small dog versus a big dog. He's also so neurotic that when he's scared, he shakes. For example, when I'm cooking or he hears a noise outside that's loud, almost like a seizure. It's weird. How can I stop the behavior? Thanks for your help. You guys are awesome.
So we've got several things going on. So let's break it down first. Let's just jump into the prong collar thing first, right? So Gizmo, who may need to get sent to Gitmo, is having problems with...
Doesn't it say Jeff and Tori at the top?
Yeah, but I'm just giving them something to work with. But thanks. Real quick.
Let me make some comments real quick.
It is my show after all. And so I just wanted to make sure that these guys have something so they're not overwhelmed. So Gizmo's got issues with the prong collar. What are you guys' suggestions? He's a little dog, the rotties are doing great on the prong. What do you guys suggest with a little dog with a prong collar who's objecting to it or freaking out or crying or screaming?
Well, I don't know if anybody read the news recently, but a woman just died recently, and actually 200 Shih Tzus of hers are up for adoption. And Kim, I would highly suggest you can easily make it 201. Just slide that dog in there and no one would ever know.
And just like peel out and like,
that's right. This is the thing, Kim.
There's always more,
One more we didn't see.
Yeah, there's always more alternatives.
Who was counting on? Were we counting on our fingers? Do we not download the proper app?
It couldn't have been just straight 200.
It's just too easy. So, or you can just swap it out and you still have 200. This is the thing, Kim. I think that your dog is most likely has a history of getting away with a lot of stuff over the last 10 or 12 years. I forgot what it was. So what you're seeing is, I want you to really, really understand that your issue is not tool-centric at all. It is Kim wants the dog to do something and the dog doesn't want to do it centric. I think if you put a slip lead on the dog, a martingale on the dog, a harness on the dog, I think the dog would object probably just as much. Because the dog does not like you finally saying, "Hey, little dog, I'm going to need you to do a couple of things so you can still eat and live here." I think the dog has gotten away with a lot. So I think recall does not know recall. And as you said, the dog only comes back when it wants to. That's
food and
that's
stuff
not
like
recall. That's not recall at all. So I think what you can do is you don't even have to use a prong collar on the dog, but you might as well use a small little micro prong collar, or you can use a 2.25 prong collar. The reason is because, believe it or not, it will make the learning as easiest as possible for this dog. It actually will take that, because you don't have much time. The dog's pretty old, so it's like you gotta really speed this training up. So what I'd like you to do is
Gellman's reality check.
The Shih Tzu, 10-year-old.
You might.
Still, but let's get this dog to introduce the prong collar. You can do the prong collar dance like you've seen in many of the videos. Definitely start out nice and easy and slow. Don't work with this dog like you're frustrated, and be careful the amount of pressure you put on the dog.
Especially compared to your rotties.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So let's watch.
If there's any of this, like swinging it around, it's probably too much pressure.
Well, you probably watched one of his DVDs. So what I'd like you to do is
we rarely teach the helicopter.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is... Rarely is still scary to me. What I would like you to do is actually go to solidk9training.com, go to my YouTube channel, and the fourth video down actually is a Shih Tzu recall video. Can link that up right there.
Right.
Okay.
Not there.
But let's just train.
And let's leave some time for Miss T over here too.
All right. So what I'd like you to do is, I can't stop in the middle here. What I'd like you to do is just teach basic leashed recall. Let's teach leash recall first. It actually is a relatively simple protocol, and you actually can use the dog's daily food. What I don't want you to use is don't use treats, just use the daily food and leash pressure, because I really want that dog to understand the leash pressure. So you're sort of psyching the dog out by saying, I'm just going to still use food, but guess what? I'm going to get you used to the leash pressure, because then when I get rid of the food, you're not going to know any
So there's both a reward, but it's non-negotiable.
Exactly.
You got to get your butt over
Exactly.
here. Tori Smith.
All right, Kim. I think at the beginning she was also talking about maybe putting this little guy on an e-collar too, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So I think that's wonderful. I love little dogs on e-collars. I find that the little guys are happier to work and a little more eager to do business with me on the e-collar, only because, again, the difference between your Rottweiler and your Shih Tzu, as gentle as we try and be, you can be very gentle with e-collar pressure, and we're strong, and you might be really strong since you're used to working with Rottweilers. It's a really nice way to apply very little pressure and motivate your little guy. I have to agree with, really like the idea of using food with your recall and everything, and working for his food. In addition to, I think we had resource guarding on top of...
Yep, on top of...
That's a whole other thing,
Yes,
yes.
on top of everything. So controlling the resources, getting him working for his food is going to get that mindset going in the right direction, and then of course addressing the addressing resource guarding by getting him e-collar conditioned is going to be really great for you.
Yeah.
Right, and I agree with Tori and with Jeff. I mean, but my major note is just I would love to see you go to e-collar training with this dog, because then you can make the recall non-negotiable. You can easily teach the out command. We've got an out command video. If you go to the Good Dog Training YouTube, and it'll show you how to work through that. You shouldn't have to deal with any resource guarding, especially with some small, teeny little guy like this. This should be easily taken care of.
Very simple.
You don't need to deal with a bunch of monkey business, especially when you got rotties and your rotties are doing great and your Shih Tzu's like running the joint. No, let's get rid of that. So I'd highly recommend e-collar training and doing a full foundational program.
Yeah.
Don't just do recall. Not that Jeff was wrong in saying that, because you wanted recall, but I would do a full program so you really get that Shih Tzu's mind in a good space, because it sounds like Jeff was probably right on the money that the Shih Tzu is probably entitled and been doing a lot of what it wants to do for a long time. Laura Morgan, I know you don't have much time. Anything you wanted to say?
I was just gonna say the big thing that you noted. You said the thing about the dog being nervous around sounds and nervous around cooking.
Yeah.
That's not a comfortable dog, right? So when you're doing this, when the dog's fronting with all this other stuff, resource guarding, I don't want to come near you, or I don't want to be trained, all this stuff, just remember that working through that is going to make your dog more comfortable, which your dog shouldn't be uncomfortable when you're cooking or there's a loud noise. That sucks for the dog. So when you're doing it, and it's because this, I don't know why my gut tells me this is going to be a tough one for you, just in general, a 10-year-old.
It's one of those Laura insights where she
She's been a hard ass with her rotties, and she's let the Shih Tzu get away with everything.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. I just feel like this dog might be a tough customer. So every time you start to feel your will to train start to wane, think about your dog being uncomfortable.
Right.
And use that as your motivation. You know what? I know I got to push through this for you.
And that's a great point, because I think a lot of people only look at the discomfort they're getting from the dog, and they forget about the discomfort that the dog is in. And Laura's always great at reminding us about that.
As uncomfortable you might think that your Shih Tzu is in during the training period, your dog's already uncomfortable.
You can't match how uncomfortable it is.
All you can do is make it better.
Right. And one more helpful hint too on recall: if you strap the Shih Tzu to the Rottie, call the Rottie back, your Shih Tzu will have a bomb-proof recall.
I love that. I think that's a great idea around the house.
Especially if the Rottie's really well behaved.
That's what I was thinking. I'm assuming that our Rotties are really well trained.